Hello, everybody. It's 1933 in BONZOLEUM, Channelville. So here we are. Yes, they did have bottled water back in 1933. I believe this is made out of some kind of space-age polymer. Alright, Immigrant Song. Okay, here's the deal. A wonderful recording. The recording proper. From Led Zeppelin 3. The first time I hear, with, you know, my ego-driven ears of Piscedom, because I know when I hear B8LI, what I really think is going on. The cymbal you hear on Immigrant Song. That is a 19-inch. It's an 18 in my opinion, but it is an original giant beat. That's what I think. Alright, so we're going to get back to the cymbals after the fact. But right now, let's talk about the intro. So the song comes in. I'm not even going to wear these sissy headphones today. When the song comes in, you do hear. Now listen to this. Go right to the beginning. But you got to go to a place where you really... I don't know if in later remasterings, if he took this out. But in the original vinyl recording of Immigrant Song from Led Zeppelin 3, which I think opened up the album, you hear right before the song starts, okay? Let me do that again. Okay, and underneath that, you hear bottom going 2, 3, 4. You can hear him counting very faintly under there, okay? I always assumed that they used to, from what I understand, they'd record bottom sometimes on a platform, on a little built stage, like a wood platform that would help the drums resonate, or at least with microphones placed around strategically. My opinion. But it was almost, I thought it was almost like his foot, like counting the tune off. So instead of going like, I always thought it was just like, this is so Zeppelin geeky, and I'm not sorry about it, people. Is it something like this, like, you know, and it just bled into the microphones, like, you know, with the delays and the reverb, so I thought it bled, it was like, right? But no, apparently, well, there's a couple different things going on here. I think Jimmy Page said that's an echo unit feeding back, but that might not be what he's talking about. A couple things happen at the beginning. Okay? Now that is just Jimmy Page's guitar. Okay, it's just the drums and Jimmy Page's guitar. Again, what I think is an 18-inch giant beat, which this cymbal, out of all three I have here, the main character of that cymbal, that giant beat, is in here. The discerning ear can hear it. Now this is why back in the day before the giant beats were reissued, I used to get Peisty 502 Plus cymbals because there was a certain sound in those that the original giant beat sounded like. Okay, let's get right back to Immigrant Song. Maybe there's guitar players watching this, they don't give two shits. But here's the deal. We get in, right? There's another phantom noise. Now I don't know if this, maybe this is the echo unit feeding back that Jimmy Page is referred to. When you hear bottom's drums and Jimmy Page's guitar, which by the way, later on when his guitar comes in, it's supposed to have like a Dick Dale, like blow, 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 almost like Pulp Fiction. Blow, 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 right? That's, if you hear the rehearsal tapes with them learning this song, it's very like Dick Dale-y. Okay? Anyway, but listen. Back to where I was. 3, 4, in there. Okay? Namely at the, I think the 04, that the 4-second and 5-second mark, you hear what almost sounds like birds going. Actually, that's not the, what is the exact pitch? What is the exact note? Like that. Just like that, but I think an octave higher. Okay? Listen to that. It is, maybe my ears are failing me. Maybe they are. Maybe I'm crazy as I am. But listen to that. You will hear that in there. Maybe you've never noticed before. Maybe you have. Maybe that's the echo unit feeding back. It's like right here. 3, 4. Right there, you'll hear real faintly like. I know that sounds like an otter dying in heat. An in-heat otter dying. But you'll hear that very faintly. When we were kids, there were certain birds, when I grew up, you'd hear birds go like that. That's what I hear. I don't know about you, but that's what I hear. All right, so then what happens? At about 17, some low end is introduced into the song, okay? When we get there, okay? There's a low end kind of put in. I don't know if maybe if it's the same bass that comes in later that's heavier and they just have it EQ'd or not as high in the mix. But then at 21 seconds, the full bass comes in. Okay? If you've never noticed that, listen to it. It's layered. The song starts out just the drums and the guitar. Then at about 17, you hear a little, like not real low endy, but it's a bass guitar. And then at 21, the whole floor comes up from the bottom. The whole bottom is filled in with low end. Then it's total beefcake. And I do want to say about this song, there's a documentary on the Munich, in the 1972 Munich games where those Israeli athletes were killed. God bless them. But there's a scene where I think it's Bud Greenberg or Bud Greenspan, I forget his last name, I think Greenspan. But there's a scene where they start, like the Olympic Games must go on or whatever, and it starts and you see sprinters taking off from the sprinting line and they go into Immigrant Song, which is one of the coolest things in the world if you've ever seen it. Okay, well let's move on here. So again, at 21-ish, the full low end comes in when he starts singing the verse, okay? Then at about 22 and 25, Hammer of the Gods, around there, you can kind of hear that noise again. What is the goddamn pitch? Like that. Go up an octave. Just like that. You'll hear it in there. I am not crazy. Well, not that crazy. Yet, anyway. All right. So 22, 25, Hammer God's area. And then something that I think is priceless. When he says, Valhalla, I am coming. On earlier rehearsal tapes and recordings, because he is English, Robert Plant says a couple times, Valhalla. Okay, nothing against the East Coast Bostonians, Cuber and the like. But he does say Valhalla. Valhalla, I am coming. Not on the studio recording, but on a lot of the stuff that came out later, them rehearsing and writing up and bringing the song up to record it. And there's actually a quick aside where Robert Plant also says on a run through his Stairway to Heaven you hear earlier, instead of thoughts, he says thorts. Let me know if you've ever heard that before. Okay, like Cuba, thoughts, thorts. It's pretty neat. Again, it's very British, I suppose. Okay, and again about 53, 55, what I hear are kind of like a more bird sound again. That kind of thing. Check it out if you've never heard it. If you haven't, and it's there, God love you, like, wow, birds. If you have heard it, and you know for sure it's just Jimmy Page's echo unit feeding back, which it probably is, maybe that's what he's referring to, but it sounds fucking cool. Because I have a mental image of, like, I almost said the Valhallans. The Valhallans running on shore. No, what are those crazy cats called? The Vikings running on shore, and that's like the sound of blood and gore, right? Those birds, like the vultures up there ready to take the blood and guts that these guys are going to spill, and like there's a liver laying in the sand, like the guy gets eviscerated, and there's a liver there, and a vulture comes down, like picks it up and rides off. Know what I'm saying? All right, so then we make our way to 151 to 155. This is very interesting. There's a distinct point in there. What does he say? What does Robert Plant sing? But at 151, almost like clockwork, to 155, like clockwork, I think it's a full bar, where it sounds like Bonham's tempo is like... Hang on a second, hang on. That's about the tempo of the whole song, but it sounds like from 151 to 155, it picks up a little bit. He either starts playing just a little faster temporarily, or it's possible they might have spliced part of another take in there. My opinion. But very interesting. Just check it out if you want. If you're curious, just check it out. Immigrant Song, by the way, look at how short this song is. It goes from 0, 0 to 220 in 2 minutes and 20 seconds. But it's fast. But listen at 151, starting at 151 to 155. Listen to Bonham, it actually speeds up. Okay, and I don't know if that's a rhythm bed take they sort of inserted in there. Maybe Bonham just suddenly did speed up. So it sounds like this, like right here. It sounds almost like that. Did you notice? What did I do? And then right here. It sounds like that a little bit. All right. So then, and then there we are. That's kind of it. Ooh, and then Plant does have that cool stutter where he's like, tonight we, okay, which I think is kind of cool. And I think I do hear the birds. They're not really birds. It really is some kind of a feedback or something. At 127, 128, and 129. And the interesting about this is it doesn't quite have the same exact duration, but it seems to occur right on downbeats, like, and it is cool. I mean, it is like an aural AURAL effect of feedback feeding back. And that's maybe probably what Jimmy Page is referring to. I always thought he was referring to the as the song comes in, okay? But you can hear Bonham under the going 2, 3, 4, and then he busts into the tune, okay? Anyway, to the cymbal. I used to, and I still have them, Paiste 502s, that big R spell they used to have. Well, I have one floating around. I have a couple of them floating around here, but I want to get it out. Anyway, the shape is really, see that big domey thing? It has a 19-inch PSD5 rock crash. But there's a very much an original, like 20-inch giant beat sound, and 18, but sound. The original giant beats kind of had more of that. A lot of cymbals will have kind of two dimensions, like let's say an X and a Y. Not really, there's more than that. But we'll say just like in a vacuum, as they say in economics, you have the X-axis and the Y-axis. Let's call the X-axis the plate sound. The actual sound of, hear that? Boom, boom. Or hear, ding, with the little tsh on top. And then here, da, da, ba, da, the little okay, like a fourth. But then you have the Y-axis, which is the shimmer part. Okay, so you have the duh mixed with sh. Listen how long that sustain goes on. It's one of my favorite cymbals. Anyway, great cymbal. Point I'm getting at again with the cymbals at the end is it's great how when Bonham does those crashes at the end. Okay. I don't know if he goes. Or if he just goes. Whatever he does on the bass drum. But when he hits those crashes, the bass, it's not the snare. The bass drum, it's an actual crash right on the upbeat. Okay, but listen, the great thing is how that crash overrides at the end. That's like a diehard, if you're a diehard Zeppelin guy, you've probably never talked about it before, but there's always that little warm feeling at the end of Immigrant song, like, that crash cymbal that just hangs over the edge.